What's going on, everybody? So, off-season content for your Jacksonville Jaguars continues, and today I want to do something a little bit different. I kind of wanted to go around and check out some of what the national media, kind of where their mock drafts are lining up, and kind of seeing where they are selecting different players over to the Jaguars. This will be kind of my early introduction to really the mock draft season. And to be completely transparent, I am not a draft expert, or I'm not a draft prospect expert, I should say. There was a time where I really did get into it, a span of like 2 years, where I was going through and reviewing all this tape with these different college players and kind of breaking down who are my guys and who I really liked from those drafts. And I went out there, and then what did the Jaguars do? The Jaguars drafted like none of those guys. And a lot of those guys went on to get drafted by like the Titans and Colts. And after doing all of that, I really felt unsatisfied with the amount of work I put in, because I was like, why did I put in all those hours? It felt like I put in all those hours for nothing, and I could have used that time a lot better. So I've really kind of been a lot more hands off on checking out just all the different draft stuff. It's just not really for me. So I am not a draft prospect expert, but I do like to kind of take a look at who different people project the Jaguars to take. And this year it's going to be a lot different because, we're not drafting number one overall. It's not Sharpie in that we're taking Trevor Lawrence. It's not like last year where it was like, Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson. Those are the two guys. This year, it's going to take a lot more projecting because the Jaguars are picking number 24 pretty late in the draft. So, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen before us. Maybe the Jaguars trade up. Who knows? But most likely the Jaguars will stick around. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go into these different mock drafts. Now, the first one, I'm going to go to CBS. They have 4 different mock draft guys. I'll look at Ryan Wilson first. He's like kind of the main guy. He has the Jaguars taking Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. He says Dalton Kincaid could end up being one of the best rookie offensive weapons in 2023, especially if Doug Peterson uses him like the Jags used Evan Ingram in 2022. Evan Ingram and 2 other Jacksonville tight ends are currently free agents, though the team could certainly decide to re-up the former Giants first rounder who is coming off of a career year. Even still, Kincaid would only make Trevor Lawrence's life easier in 2022. And tight end is a really easy player to project the Jaguars to take because, everyone knows that Doug Peterson loves his tight ends. And also the Jaguars have a huge need. I mean, Evan Ingram, Dan Arnold, Chris Manhertz all set to be free agents next year. And, they really, it's not a great unit. And the Jaguars, even if they re-sign Evan Ingram, tight end is still a huge need. So I've heard a lot about Dalton Kincaid. I'll probably look more into kind of some of his highlight reels and what he does well. But, I imagine if anybody's getting projected at this spot, they're probably very well a dual threat, even though tight ends in their first year, they don't always pop off their first year. Usually it takes a couple years to really, gain their footing. So that's one guy that has the Jags taking tight end. Next up, we have Chris Trapasso. He has the Jaguars selecting Anton Harrison, Oklahoma offensive tackle. This one's surprising. They have the Jaguars taking an offensive tackle because right now, offensive tackle really isn't a huge need for the Jaguars. Even if Jawan Taylor does leave in free agency, that's going to pretty much put Cam Robinson at left tackle and Walker Little at right tackle. And especially if we do re-sign Jawan Taylor, then I just could not see the Jaguars taking offensive tackle in the first round. But, one thing that is important, man, I mean, we saw this year having a swing tight end, a guy like Walker Little that was able to be in there and really back up Cam Robinson. And he came in there in an injury pinch and did pretty well. I mean, the Jaguars probably will not advance as far as they did. I mean, he really neutralized Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack when Walker Little played. But where the Jaguars are, man, definitely best player available. And, if Anton Harrison is that guy, then so be it. So next up, we have Josh Edwards. Josh Edwards has us taking Brian Breesy. He is a defensive lineman from Clemson. He says Jacksonville has invested significant resources into the edge rush group and now adds a plug-and-play interior defensive ceiling. The only question is how high will Brian Breese's, I don't like his name, Brian Breese's ceiling reach? So, I mean, that's a good one, man. Bringing an interior defensive lineman that fills a huge need. You know, the Jaguars. I mean, every team, no team out there can't not afford another defensive lineman. But you know, from the looks of it, it sounds like he's kind of a boomer bust player, kind of like Walker Little at number one. Look, and we know that Trent Baalke is a traits guy. You know, he's going to select a guy that, you know, has insane measurables, and because they project a lot higher. Maybe that's what this guy is. And if this is a traits guy, if he has excellent traits and a really high ceiling, that could absolutely be a guy that Trent Baalke does wind up pulling the trigger on. I mean, defensive lineman, it may be boring. The Jaguars just, man, it feels like every year we invest in the defensive line in the first round, and we don't have a lot to show. I mean, we have some decent players, but you know, we need to get our Aaron Donald, we need to get our Chris Jones, and maybe this guy has that potential. So we'll see. Next up, we have Kyle Stackpole. Sounds like a fake name, but Tyler Stackpole. He actually has the Jaguars trading up to number 21 and taking Siakai Ika. I don't know how I probably butchered that one. He's a defensive lineman from Baylor. He says several Jaguars defensive linemen are set to become free agents in 2023. They have to play Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Dameon Pierce twice per season. Yeah, when he says several Jaguars defensive linemen are set to become free agents, yeah, Dwan Smoot, Arden Key, I'll give you that. Roy Robertson Harris may be a cap casualty. So, yeah, there's a good chance that, look, some guys will just have to walk. And, you know, he's making note that they have to play Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Dameon Pierce. I mean, I don't know if I'm listing those players as the reasons we need another defensive lineman. We need another defensive lineman because we need another defensive lineman. But I'm not sure this is an edge guy. I'm going to see if I can pull up this guy's full mock draft and see if we get any info from it. I don't know if he has what he thinks of Jaguars. No, he doesn't. Just the same description here. So we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that is a CBS ones. So if you look, it has us there's 2 defensive linemen and 2 offensive players with a tight end and offensive tackle so far. So we'll go to the next one. This next one is from, I believe this is SI Report. This is Mel Kiper's mock draft. I had to pull this from Jaguar Report because Mel Kiper has ad walls all over his content because he's such a big, important guy. But he actually has the Jaguars at number 24 taking Maryland cornerback Deonte Banks. The chalk pick for the Jaguars at number 24 so far has been cornerback. We recently mocked a cornerback to the Jaguars at 24 overall for a reason earlier this week. And it is obvious the Jaguars need help there with Shaquille Griffin likely set to be released and Trey Herndon set to be a free agent. Herndon could return, but the Jaguars will need a slot corner. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, Jaguars need a slot cornerback. I mean, we have 2 outside guys. Could definitely add another cornerback and somebody to eventually replace Darius Williams when the time comes. I mean, really, with the way these really cornerbacks work in the NFL, a lot of times you have like one guy on a rookie contract and one expensive guy. And, you know, Tyson Campbell is still a rookie contract guy going into his 3rd year. So he'll be, you know, we have him under a contract for 2 more years, but it would be nice to maybe replace to sign a potential replacement for Darius Williams when that time comes, because you never know when you're going to have to cut bait with a free agent, with a guy on an expensive contract. So Deonte Banks for Mel Kiper. Now, next one, we're going to go to Draft Network, and this is another Anton Harris, offensive tackle from Oklahoma pick. So our first pick we've seen twice. Said the Jacksonville Jaguars would be wise to make sure their cupboard is full of offensive line talent around the budding superstar Trevor Lawrence. While Walker Little has flashed, Jawan Taylor is an expiring contract at right tackle. Anton Harris is a silky smooth athlete with exciting range to develop into a long-term fixture for the Jacksonville Jaguars up front. Yeah, I guess my big question with this guy is, could he potentially play interior? If he goes into, like, if the Jaguars bring back Jawan Taylor, I just don't see a huge need to draft offensive tackle, at least not yet. So I wonder if we're going to draft a guy in the first round, I really don't want him sitting behind anybody for very long. Yeah, like, I mean, you need a swing tackle. You really do need a swing tackle in the NFL, but a swing tackle in the first round, I don't know, man. I would probably wait on that one. So I think a lot of people are just projecting the Jaguars to not re-sign Jawan Taylor. So next up, we have Yahoo Sports and another tight end off the board. They have Georgia tight end Darnell Washington. They say Evan Ingram enjoyed a revitalization for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Doug Peterson wants to play in 12 personnel. 12 personnel meaning one running back, two tight ends. Ideally, selecting a tight end who can play attached to the line of scrimmage should be a priority because it opens up where Evan Ingram is best. Darnell Washington is one of the most physical players in the draft, and he's no stranger to two tight end sets. Selecting Washington would give the Jaguars a high-end blocker and a reliable receiving weapon for Trevor Lawrence. And hey, man, if people have us projected a tight end in the first round, I'm all for it. I mean, I would love to have game-changing tight ends. You know, we're a team that feels like we're cursed at tight end, whether it's drafting and having a tight end or whether it's guarding tight ends defensively. And, you know, it's cool seeing some of these tight ends go out the board. Haven't heard much about this guy. I know his teammate, there's another guy, a tight end on Georgia, which you guys are going to destroy me in the comments because I can't really remember his name, but he's set to come out in 2024, but that's supposed to be the real beast. But, you know, Georgia's turning into the new Alabama, and I'm not sure if I like it. So the final one we're going to look at is Daniel Jeremiah's, really the draft GOAT, like him probably over anybody in the game. He has Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. So another tight end. We've hit 3 different tight ends in these drafts. It says Mayer is a complete tight end and would fit beautifully within Doug Peterson's offense. Evan Ingram, who just enjoyed a career-high campaign and a contract year, could find more money elsewhere this offseason. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, even if Evan Ingram re-signs, still a pretty big need for the Jaguars with tight end. But I don't know, man. A lot of these mock drafts are like, I feel like the offensive tackle ones are assuming that we re-sign Evan Ingram and we let Jawan Taylor walk. I feel like with this one, and some of them are assuming that maybe they're re-signing Jawan Taylor and letting Evan Ingram walk. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And, you know, we'll know a lot more in March when we re-sign these different free agents, and we'll get a lot better of idea of where our real draft needs are going to be. So these are some mock drafts. Maybe I'll do another edition after free agency, and maybe I'll kind of be a little bit more informed about these different draft prospects. But like I said, I keep it real with you guys. I am honest with you guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert. You know, I feel like I'm a pretty informed Jaguar fan, but I'm definitely not very informed on this draft stuff. And I probably never will be. You know, I'll probably keep going with my thing where, okay, we draft the guys. Now I can do more research into them and figure out where they fit. But, you know, that's just me. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this video, and go Jags.